Hey everyone, welcome to On The Homefront. Today, we are talking to someone who's made his mark in the NFL and is now shaking things up in the Octagon in a whole new way. Drafted 12th overall by the Chargers in 2005, he made the Pro Bowl and earned AP Rookie of the Year in his very first season. His career was packed with hard hits and big plays, earning him the nickname Lights Out. Now, he's the founder of Lights Out Extreme Fighting. Please welcome to the show, Shawne Merriman.
Hey, Jeff, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Doing so good. Thanks for coming on today. So much in your background to talk about. Would you care to just share a little bit about going back to Maryland? How did you choose Maryland as your college to play for?
Well, it's funny. I went to a high school called Frederick Douglass High School in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland, which is about 20 minutes from University of Maryland. And when I went, there was no Division I player ever from my high school. I was the first Division I player to go, and I wanted to stay home to kind of set an example because all the bigger name players from the Washington D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area, they left and went to Penn State, or they left and went to Ohio State or Alabama or Florida. They went to a bigger school or Texas. And I said, you know what? No, I'll be the first, kind of homegrown big name guy to stay home. And that was my number one reason. I'd offers from just about everybody, right? That you can name. But I thought it was important for me to stay home, and it worked because we had a lot of the other top talent. Vernon Davis, who was from not too far from where I was from, he stayed home, and E.J. Henderson,
right,
who won the buckets, he stayed home. And it was a snowball effect of a lot of these players from the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area staying home, and that was my main reason for staying home.
Yeah, well, great career there. Transitioned, high draft pick. This was before the CBA, so you got a contract, got a good one, and then had a great run with the Chargers there. Talk to me a little bit about some of your favorite memories, if you don't mind, from playing with the Chargers.
I think we played on some of the most iconic teams of the 2000s, and I remember walking in the locker room day one and seeing LaDainian Tomlinson and Antonio Gates and Phillip Rivers, Lorenzo Neal. It was almost like a Twilight Zone because these are all the guys who I kind of watched play before I got to the NFL. And now I'm right across the locker from them. So it was kind of a surreal moment. But I think, for me, coming out of college with, a nickname like Lights Out and have, this big persona, and there was so much expectation, right? Because it was all this hype coming from college that I had to come in to prove myself, which is crazy. First round draft pick, you're a talented guy. You got to come in and prove yourself. You're playing on a team with, 4 or 5 different Hall of Famers. You got to come in and earn your keep. When I got there, man, I remember the first time we played the Kansas City Chiefs. I went out and got a big hit, knocked out Priest Holmes. And so I was playing hard like that because I was trying to earn that respect, because a lot of guys, the older guys, especially LaDainian Tomlinson, they didn't want to call me Lights Out. They called me Rookie of 56. So it was one of those things I had to go and earn my name. But I now looking back on it now, I appreciate, being in that situation where, I couldn't walk in the locker room with a big head. Well, I couldn't walk in there with an ego, and I had to really, really earn my keep to be there, man. And those are some of the memories, just trying to earn those guys respect, walking in the locker room, having 3 or 4 sacks on Monday night. Those things are fun, man. But just when you're a 20 or 21-year-old kid walking into the locker room with that level of greatness and having earned their respect and then get it, right? And that's the biggest part, then earn their respect and then keeping it.
Well, I heard a story about a rookie dinner that you had to buy.
Yeah.
And, if they didn't respect you and know who you were, then you wouldn't have been at the table. That $32,000 bill is feeding those boys.
Hey, look, I wish they did. I wish they didn't know me around that time.
Shawne, I want to get your opinion on something. So, I play college football. I was on the offensive side of the ball. My son was a defender. He played Division I college football. Tackling. Your style of play was the way that we were all. Now, I played in the late '80s and early '90s, right? But we were taught to block. We were taught to tackle a certain way. We used our head. I mean, it was on center. If you slid up and you got underneath somebody's chin, that was all good, right?
Yeah.
And the bigger impact that you could create, and the more damage that we could inflict. But tackling's changed now. They teach the gator roll. They put their head like on an angle tackle. They're teaching kids to put their head behind the runner, then across the chest. Like, what do you think about that? Would you have been able to adjust to that style of play with the kind of physical nature and the type of dominating hits that you were so well known for?
I make a joke that if I played in the days era, I'd be playing for free, right? Because all the fines I rack up.
Yeah.
But the truth is that I could adjust, and I would be able to adjust because those are rules. But I think that the NFL has done everything to make the game safer, right?
Yeah.
Like, take, for example, the crackback blocks. I mean, those crackback blocks back in the day from wide receiver to a guy that can't see you was just brutal. And so they've taken that away. They've taken away the helmet-to-helmet contact. You got to let a wide receiver come down with the football before you go and attack them in the air. I think the NFL has done everything they possibly can to make the game safe. I think that.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think of the new kickoffs?
It's going to take some time to get. We're not used to seeing it, right? And so I think that it's going to be weird for some time. I don't look at that as a big deal. It's just more one of those things. It's going to take time to get used to. But 100%, I could adjust my game today only because the rules would have allowed it. But I'll say this. I wouldn't have played, in my opinion, with the same amount of passion. Because all the things that you named, right, being to knock somebody out of that big hit or get somebody up under their chin, all those things drove me to like do it again and do more of it. Inflicting pain, right, on someone else.
Yeah.
Taking somebody else's will or another. And I always said this. I said, man, you got to be a bad mother to go and take another grown man's will from him. He's looking at you from across. He just doesn't want anymore, right? And, that's what made football football. So, yes, I would have been able to adjust, but I don't think I would have had the same passion doing it.
Yeah, they play standing up now. There's a lot of engagement. You want to tie up. You want to keep a body on a body. I played fullback, and there'd be 10 or 15 times in a game in an ISO where it's just you and that middle linebacker, and it was just face mask on. It was who could get lower, who could hit harder, and it was a war of attrition, really. And it's really changed a lot, but I think it's for the better. I mean, I know there's a question about having your kids play. Both my kids started playing football at 7 years old. And I think athletics has been one of the most formative things in their lives in terms of discipline and teamwork and perseverance and all that kind of stuff. And football is I think it's the greatest game that's ever been invented.
I do too, and I feel the same way. And I got a 14-year-old son as well. And so, he plays quarterback. When he was first starting out playing around like 10, I think it was around 10 years old. That question also came up too, because I still talk to a lot of kids where the parents are like, hey, I got a 9-year-old kid, I got a 10-year-old kid. Would you let him play football? And I say, that same thing I told my son. I said, I'll tell him about the dangers, right? Because it's a violent sport. So I'll tell you about the dangers of it, but I'll also tell you how to protect yourself. But I would not replace what I've learned playing football for any amount, no injury, nothing at all, because the values that it's taught me in business, the values it's taught me in life is unprecedented. Like you can't even pay, you talk to some people who don't know adversity, who don't know what it's like in that one-on-one ISO, when that feeling you get having to do that 10 times a game, or training camp when you guys are running those gassers, those 100-yard sprints, and it's 100 plus outside, and you got to find a way to push through, or your finger's out of place, or your shoulder, you got a shoulder stinger, you got to go back in the game. That's a level of toughness that this world is missing, truthfully. And I know we're living in a different time, and I'm not like the old school guy, like, oh, back in the day we were. No, I'm not that. It's just that,
No, I am.
yeah, and you know it. So, and there's nothing wrong. And for me, I'm able to kind of transform my mind and keep up with the times. Like I'm not so very old school, even though I played very old school. I'm not very old school. Like I do think you got to move with the times, but that level of adversity and obstacles that you have to deal with made business and life much easier because I see people who never endured those things. They can't manage. They can't handle. They fold. They fold under pressure. They can't handle a bad day or adversity or obstacles or, any kind of trials and tribulations. They can't deal with it because they haven't been down that path before, man. So, I got two shoulder surgeries I had, left knee, right Achilles, finger. And guess what? I'll do it again for the life lessons that I've been taught from this game on not to quit, teamwork, pushing through those things, man, is invaluable.
Yeah, man, I had both my knees replaced 3 years ago. I left my knees on the field at App State. But it's, but feedback on the football field, man, it's honest and it's immediate and it's truth. And and people will let you know if you're not doing your job. Well, awesome. I'd love to talk a little bit as we transition into what you're doing now, maybe about NFL player transitions. I'm in the franchise business. We have several NFL players that have joined our franchise systems. How have you been able to transition so successfully into business? And then what are some of the things that are available to players to help them maybe get into business today or help them? Because, if you have a 3 to 5 year career, that's one thing. If you have a 10 or 12 year career, that's probably another thing financially. But, most people still have to do something after that. And if it's not in the booth or on the sideline or, that kind of stuff, then it's going to be something in business. What kind of resources are available? And maybe what are the challenges that you see for some of these players today?
I think the biggest thing is, and I tell a lot of guys this, whatever you plan on doing after that you want to do after, start while you're playing. Right? Don't try to sit back and wait and say, "Oh, I'm going to start doing this when I'm done." That's not what you want to do. And I talked to a lot of guys this and said, "Look, year, 2 years, 3 years before you're thinking about retiring, start doing already because you have this period of window when you retire to when you start doing it. That is a very, very lonely and depressing time where you're trying to adjust to being a regular person out here, right? A normal." You're trying to be a citizen, a normal person, that you don't have that regimen. That regimen is gone that you've been doing for the last 20 plus years of your life is gone. And so you got this dog spot where you're like, okay, that whistle's not blowing anymore. No more, mandatory film sessions or practices. And now you're trying to catch up and get into something new that you don't know anything about. So I would say the first thing to do, start looking into it and actually doing what you want to do years before you retire. That's one. Two, you have to, that same passion that got you to run out the tunnel, 70,000 people, a strip, sack, forced fumble, a big hit, a catch, a touchdown. You find something, and I say this about athletes, and I know you can kind of relate to this. Once we find out where we're passionate, that thing that made us go on the field, we're going to dominate in life because all we know is discipline and dedication and structure and regimen. Those are all the things you need to be successful. And believe it or not, most people don't have it, especially business owners when they're starting out, being disciplined on their time management. There's no hanging out, going with your friends to brunches and kind of kicking it. No, when you're a business owner, your life is that. That's what you do around the clock. And very few people get lost into trying to do something early on because they don't have the discipline and structure to do that. So that's the thing. One, start doing that before you start looking into whatever you want to do after. And then two, find out whatever your passion is, because once you figure out that passion that gets you up in the morning, you're going to be successful because that same passion is running through you that was on the field.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for anybody, not just players. College students, get a side hustle. Don't wait. Wait is a 4-letter word. Get after it. First things first, second things never. So you're very successful in business now. You also do production in-house with the network, and you're in the entertainment business. Who were some of the influences or mentors that you were able to find through your NFL career that helped you like see what it could be in what you're doing right now to help create the vision for that?
I was in a very fortunate situation because when you play in the NFL, people know who you are. You can at least get in the door, right? You can pick up the phone and be, hey, I got this idea, I got this thing that I want to do. I want to invest here. I want to build this MMA league. I want to build this streaming service, whatever it is. And so you can pick up the phone and I can call an exec from Fox Sports or ESPN or, Paramount or Lionsgate. I could get, say, hey, and if they don't know what I'm looking for, they'll put me in touch. And that goes back to having relationships and just really getting information. That's the third thing I would say. That I'll add on what we just talked about. The third thing is get with somebody who got more experience than you. Like a lot of people go and they venture out and they start dumping money into, especially players, because you got money when you retire. Most have, good amount of money when you retire. So you start dumping money into things you don't understand. That's how you lose it. And so what I always did, if I was looking to get into the streaming business, I stayed in the streaming business with other people, the successful, billion-dollar companies and, bringing in, ridiculous amounts of revenue and different kind of technology. I stayed around those people all the time. So by the time I was ready to go and launch my own, I was able to do it because I already knew the course of action. I already knew how to execute because I've been around it for a few years. So tell any guy out there, anybody that's retiring, those three things, man, if you start doing those, I would guess that you're going to have most guys that are successful. They're not.
Yeah. So a through line for you was martial arts. I picked up on that early with my son. He was a wrestler, and then he started doing some MMA, and man, he became a much better tackler when you know how to grapple and things like that. So you came to the martial arts while you were playing, helped you as a player, especially with hand work on the outside, just everything, pass rushing, right? Hand fighting, all of it. How did that help you in football, number one? And then number two, how did you decide that was something you wanted to do after football? And maybe let's move a little bit towards the Extreme Fighting League.
Yeah, so I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, and I had family members who were professional boxers. So naturally, I just grew up around boxers, so I kind of already knew my stand-up game and striking was already pretty good. I was in the gym, Jay Glazer's gym, actually, the broadcaster over at Fox Sports, good friend of mine. Yeah. He saw me hitting the mitts one day. And he said, "Man, you can box. Would you learn how to box from?" And I said, "Hey, my family's, got a couple boxers in my family, blah blah blah, whatever." He said, "Hey, I think if you tried MMA out, it would help you in football." So I said, "Sure. Yeah, if it's gonna help me in football, let me know what I need to do." So he gave me an address. The next day, I show up at the gym, and I got Jay Glazer here on my left. I got Randy Couture on my right. So my first day training anything MMA was with Randy Couture, one of the best who's ever done it. And I saw a couple of things that it did. First of all, it humbled me. I mean, it just, you walking in a big, strong guy, you're athletic, explosive, and somebody half your size can literally kick your ass. And it's one of those things, man. You're like, man, it's just a humbling sport. The second part is that hand combat, being able to get the big offensive lineman off of you and be very violent and active with your hands as an outside linebacker and pass rusher. And you starting to see a lot of these guys during the offseason pick up some kind of combat sport. I was just kind of 10, 15 years ahead of my time. But I think that the discipline, and then last but not least, man, the endurance. You 3 rounds, 3-minute rounds or 3 5-minute rounds is a lifetime. And there's nothing like somebody on top of you and they're good at jujitsu and they got this amount of pressure and you're trying to get up and you're trying to explode your hips to get off the ground and just get back up standing on your feet. And you can't. I mean, there's nothing more exhausting. You're in a hot little sweaty room. And it is demoralizing, man. It really, really does something for you. And I came out the next year and led the NFL in sacks. It helped me out that much where I was able to use my hands, being able to open my hips and turn the corners against those big offensive linemen.
Yeah. Wasn't Ronnie Lott like a black belt? Is that right?
Yeah.
He was one of those early guys that was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was him. So let's talk about the Lights Out Extreme Fighting Network.
Yeah.
What opportunity did you see in the marketplace for athletes maybe that were interested in moving into MMA that you met that opportunity with this network? How did you come up with that?
So I got Lights Out Extreme Fighting, which is my MMA league and promotion. Our last, I think 5 or 6 champions all went to the UFC, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, think of us as a, kind of a farm system, right, for the UFC. And we are on Lights Out Sports TV, which is my streaming platform.
Right.
And, we got 26 channels in there, from fishing, hunting, wildlife, wrestling, chess, which I've never thought that I would love chess is so much. World Poker Tour is on there as well. So you got cards, and we got 250 sports movies and documentaries is on there, and it's free. And we're on every major smart TV in the world. So if you got a smart TV, we're there. You can download Lights Out Sports TV. And I'm constantly now working on adding more live sports. I mean, live sports right now is where it's at. And I wanted to make it free. That was the biggest thing for me, man. I wanted to make it free. I didn't want to be another subscription, another bill that somebody got to work. Oh, now I got to, spend $10 more dollars for this service. Completely free. But again, we talked about, when I retired, I got straight into TV. I was at NFL Network for a couple of years, and Fox Sports and ESPN and WWE Network. And, I got the privilege, man, of seeing the inner workings of these multi-billion dollar networks and businesses, and understanding how the TV business work, and now how streaming is going. And so I just thought that it was important that a former athlete owned and ran all sports streaming service. It's never been done. And it's also too, you got to understand both sides of the spectrum. Sometimes I think that people may own something in sports or run something in sports, but never played sports, never played, and it baffles me that, go back to the Olympic Games, right? I mean, just the opening, the closing, it's like, that's artsy. That's people in sports don't care about that, man. You don't want to see that. We're not looking to see nothing artsy. I mean, we're just not. And so, I started looking around. I said, man, who has this ever been done? The answer is no. But also understanding the market, and understanding the tech side, and understanding what things are going, understanding CTV and how things worked with ads, and just the business, and also athlete ran. So it was important for me to launch something like this, because I started seeing all these other people that ran sports networks and never played sports. I said, how are you going to know what people like in sports if you never played it? And for me, man, it's like, it was important. It's my, again, we talk about passion. It's one of these things that get me up in the morning, where I'm like, okay, I need to get out the bed, because that whistle's about to blow. That gives me that same feeling again.
So where can people find the programming?
You can find Lights Out Sports TV on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, iOS, Android, Philips, LGs, Vizio just launched last week, Comcast, Xumo. So any one of the major TV platforms, we're there.
Okay, so like, I've got a Samsung, and when I pull it up, they have all this free programming on there. So it's like that. I don't know if you're on Samsung or not, but
we're on Samsung.
But it's just like, okay, well, I've probably been watching it then. Awesome. So does you got a 14-year-old? Is he looking to follow your footsteps in athletics? Well, is it a passion, or is it a hobby?
He plays quarterback. So he's definitely not following my steps doing that.
Okay.
He is the number one quarterback coming out of New Jersey, class of 2029. So yeah, I always, and I talked to him about this sometime, and more so when he was younger. When you got a parent that people know that played the sport, like, you have enough pressure already. So even when I was, when he was younger, and I'll go to the games, or I'll go to the practices, the coaches wanted me to speak, and saying, I'm like, guys, I'm just here like just like every other parent. I just want to stay, kind of stay in the background. Even with him, I said the only thing that I care about with him is his work ethic. the time he put in and how hard he goes in his work ethic. I said, if you go out there and throw an interception or two, I don't care. That happens. If you go out there and have a bad game, I don't care if that happens. If you don't go out there and give me maximum effort, I care about that. That's the only thing I care about. Is whether you gave everything you had. And if you did, and you didn't have that great of a game, I can live with that. But if you didn't, that I can't live with. And so, yeah, it's cool, man, to see, now that the game has changed. We talked about how old school and how things, like they're looking at these colleges, looking at kids in 8th, 9th grade now. It's, it's different times.
Yeah, and you'll have to provide some counsel to him probably about things like NIL and transfer portal that maybe we didn't have to deal with.
Right. Yeah, and it makes it's tough, man, because you got kids in a sense. Anybody that's 18 or under, they're still kids.
Right.
And they're in a position to make these adult decisions, right? Because the money that's involved and things like that. So yeah, I'll step in to, kind of advise on what I think should happen. But ultimately, man, I give him a lot of leeway just to make his own decisions. And I tell him, I say, whatever decision you make, you live with it, you follow it through, but you can make it, And so I've always kept that same attitude with it.
Look, man, they make it, they own it. Teach them how to think, not what to think, and let them make mistakes, and they will find their way if they want to. Do you have an opinion on things like the transfer portal and NIL and the impact on college football?
Yeah, I think it's great, but I think it's going to end up being a little bit of the Wild Wild West if it hasn't already. And I've always said this:
you can build a team overnight now.
Yeah, and the problem is what happened is these kids aren't loyal, right? And I'm not saying loyal to the university. I'm loyal to the guy that's next to you that's bleeding and breaking his bones and tearing his hamstrings and quads and rolling his ankles with you, right? There's no loyalty to that because they're just jumping for dollar. Now, the problem I have with that is, by the way, I've always said that they should get paid. I thought that they should have been getting a stipend, something monthly. Maybe let them make money doing autograph signings. Something. Right. It should have been something. They should have been getting paid a long time ago, and they didn't. So now they got to deal with this whole NIL and all the things that come with it. Certain colleges are even suing now. They're suing the NCAA for stepping in with these NIL. So there's a lot going on. I think that, like when Nick Saban, right? I want to use him for the prime example. People are so mad at him saying, he's retiring because of what's going on now in sports, in college football. I agree with him. I mean, I can't imagine a 17-year-old kid sitting across from me saying, I'm not coming here unless give me $500,000. You don't even know how this kid's going to pan out, right? I mean, he might be all world in high school. He hasn't done nothing in college yet to even require or request that type of money. And you got somebody like Nick Saban, who's one of the greatest and winning college coaches of all time, and you're talking to him, telling him what you're going to do, will and won't do. That part I just really can't get with.
I mean, I understand how he does not want to make that adjustment at this point in his career, nor should he have to. I mean, he's laid it down, and his record stands for itself. But there's a whole new dynamic coming out, and I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it wasn't as pervasive, but players did get paid before NIL. I mean, certain players did get paid.
No doubt. I mean, it was one of those meet me in the back alley with a brown paper bag paid, but it's not how they get paid now.
Or even just a car for something, just a little something here and there. But it's nice to see it out in the open. It's nice to see it on an even playing field. Now the boosters can just put their money in a thing, and the coach can, instead of having to, give people a job at the oil rig for $1,000 an hour. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. I saw a documentary or something, but all right. Well, hey, Shawne, this has been great. I know you're up against it, but really enjoyed having you on today. Thank you so much. Super excited for the Lights Out Network, and really excited for the opportunities given some of these young athletes to really show their stuff and to give them just another avenue to get out and to be around great people like you, people that can mentor them and kind of give them a path for success. We're huge into young people here. I mean, I coached over 30 seasons of my kids' sports, man. I think anything we can do to invest in young people and give them vision and talk to them, which leads me to the last question, Shawne, for you. If you had one sentence to speak to make an impact into somebody's life, what would that be?
I would just say consistency, man. Just stay consistent for as long as you can. And I think that um, just staying consistent is going to allow you to pass up a lot of people who just quit, a lot of people who just deter themselves from their dreams or don't think that things are working out and pivot or go backwards or go another direction. If you just stay consistency wins every single time. And that's one thing that's been a key component in my life is that some days you're going to get up not feeling that great. You're not going to want to do everything. And I know this Instagram is showing everybody smiling and jumping up and down these positive workouts every day. But trust me, they don't show the days that they sit at the edge of the bed and they're tired, or they stressed out, they got anxiety, or they're depressed. They don't show those things. But I guarantee you, if you stay consistent long enough, you'll break through.
Yeah, man. The best way to win the next opportunity is to succeed in the one that you're in right now and stick with it.
That's right.
Fantastic. I am Jeff Dudan, and we have been with the great Shawne Merriman, and we have been on the home front. Shawne, thank you so much for being on.